Hey there, you're watching Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host Kyle Brotherson. Today we're gonna put this little baby on this little baby. So why am I standing in front of this beautiful KTM 150 XCW? It's because I'm going to do a modification to this thing. I've got this RK Tek insert for the head, and we're going to swap out the insert on this stock head. So one of the cool things about these 150s is that they have a removable head piece. It's a two-piece head, meaning that you can get an aftermarket head milled to your perfection to increase the compression, to give you a little bit more horsepower, to give you a little bit more low-end torque, and that's what we're going to do. I've had pretty good luck with the RK Tek heads in the past, and so I'm going to go ahead and just put this little baby on this 2017 150 to see if I can get a little bit more low end back in the bike. So this isn't a difficult install. All you really need are some basic tools. We're going to take off our tank. I probably will take off my pipe just to get it out of the way for filming, although I don't know that you have to do that. I will drain the coolant out of my bike. And at that point, I mean, there's the head stays that you have to take off, but there's really not a ton in order to get this done. Most guys should be able to do this inside of an hour, I would imagine, or right around an hour on their bike. If you're super proficient, you might be able to do it in a half hour, but we're going to shoot for about an hour for most guys. And let's take a look and see how we do this. As I said before, it's probably not necessary to remove the pipe to install this head on your 150 XCW, but I did that for filming purposes here. Okay, now we're going to drain our coolant, so I'm going to get this cracked a little bit. I'm going to put a little funnel here under this. See if I can hopefully catch most of this coolant here. What I'll do is pull out this little plug. And because of the vacuum that exists inside that motor, inside the coolant in the motor and in the head, there's not a lot of water, not a lot of coolant's going to come out until I pop the radiator cap. So I'm going to pop this. Of course, this is hard to do one-handed. Oh, there we go. Can't get that radiator cap all the way off with one hand. You can see that pouring out though. And that's what's just me taking the pressure off the radiator cap. I haven't even gotten the dang thing all the way off. I have to use my other hand to do this. There we go. And it's going to come out the rest of the way. Looks like I might not have even needed the funnel here. Now that I've drained most of the coolant out of the bike, I'm just gonna put that bolt back in because I'm done with that, and then we'll go to the next step. Now we're gonna remove our tank. So I've removed the bolt here. I've removed obviously the seat, the head, the tank bolt, and then I've removed taken the bolts out of my radiator shrouds, and I've taken the fuel line off from the bottom of the gas tank. So I should be able to just lift this tank up and off the bike like so. And that exposes the engine compartment really well here. So we'll lift this bike up, we'll take off these head stays, and we'll go to the next step. Well, I stand corrected. This head stay, this is a cylinder stay. So on this bike, I don't even have to take this off. All I've got to do is remove this hose and remove my spark plug. Actually, I don't have to remove the spark plug, but I'm gonna loosen the spark plug while I've got it on the bike because it's so much easier to get that out that way. So that's all I got to do. I'm gonna take off my radiator hose and my coolant hose, and then take these bolts out, and that sucker will be off. So this one is even easier than a lot of the other bikes I've done. If you loosen your spark plug right now with it bolted onto the bike, everything just goes so much easier. So I don't have to take that all the way out. I'm just going to loosen that. Just loosen that hose clamp a bit, and then We might lose a little bit of coolant. Nope. Really doesn't matter which way you loosen this. When I tighten this back on, I'm going to go in a star pattern when I torque this down, but we're just taking it off. That's not going to work. We're going to have a deep socket for that one. Head off. Now, I've never had this head off before, but a lot of the other KTM heads, well, all the other KTM heads that I've taken off on the 250s and the 300s, they've had little pins, alignment pins in them that you don't want to lose. So I'm going to be careful that I don't jar this too much. So I got my spark plug. Oh, this is going to come off pretty easily. Look at this. Yep, there are some pins there. And the pin stayed in the cylinder. See that? Get a good look at our piston here. Bring that up. Nice. So as we said before, this is a two-piece head design. So you've got the outer shell, and then you've got the insert on the inside. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to take my RK Tek insert and put that in here. Make sure this is all clean. This, by the way, this is kind of like the bleeder for your coolant. So I'm going to pull that out now so that I remember to do that. That's the way to keep air bubbles from popping up in this. When you put your coolant back in, to clear the air bubbles out. Makes sense in a minute. We'll put our coolant in and let that flow out of the top. But I digress. So one thing I need to do is get this O-ring out of here. One of the things I like about doing these RK Tek heads is I don't even need a gasket kit. I'll just use the same O-rings that came in the bike and that are still on the cylinder over there. I'm going to make sure this doesn't have, it looks like it doesn't have any specific way that you have to put this in. It could go any way. Some of these have only a specific way that they can go. I'm just gonna put it on like this so I keep that gasket, that O-ring in the right spot. And that could literally just spin around. There's no specific place that it has to go. So that's pretty easy. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put the way that I'll keep this together is with the spark plug. I mean, they said, there was a number of people that said, I'm running this 152 too lean. And I look at this and I say, well, according to the spark plug, this is not running too lean. Not at all. So silence the critics. Bunch of internet keyboard jockeys that think they know just by listening to a bike over YouTube. Make that finger tight. We're ready to stick this back on the bike. All right, making sure to carefully align our pins. I'm going to put this, there we go. Now we're seated. Put our bolts back in, all the way around. And you notice I've got my coolant bleeder screw out. That's going to be important for when we put the coolant back in, because we'll put the coolant in the top, in through the radiator, and as it runs down through the radiator and then down into the cylinder and into the head, it will start to bubble out here, and that's when we know that we've got all our air bubbles out, and then we can put that bolt back in. As I said before, you want to check with the manufacturer on the torque spec for your bike. And then what you'll want to do, let me get this actually on the one side. There we go. As I was trying to say, you'll want to torque these things down in a star pattern. course, that thing is right in the way. This one's 18 Newton meters. These are supposed to be torque too, which isn't that much. Sometimes I'll torque it, like if it was supposed to be 30 Newton meters, I'd torque them maybe to 20 Newton meters. And then I would come back all the way around and then torque them, you know, at the higher level. But on this one, when it's just 18 Newton meters, I'm just gonna do it one time. Okay, I'm gonna tighten my spark plug back up. Now, your spark plug doesn't have to be crazy tight, just tight. And we're gonna now fill up our coolant and watch for it to flow out of that overflow. Again, I'm just gonna pour in coolant slowly. It'd be helpful if I had a better bowl to do this, but I think I should be able to get this. I'm gonna pour in my coolant slowly until I see it coming out of that overflow. Right down there on the cylinder head. Okay, there it goes. Now, plug my hole. Okay. At which point we will put the remainder of our coolant in. And I've leaked out some, so I'll have to add a little coolant here because I won't be able to get all of this coolant back in. I mean, I'll get all this coolant back in, but one thing you can do also is kind of lean the bike. If you lean the bike toward, like if I lean the bike towards me, I'll get an air bubble out. I have to unclip this guy. What that'll do is that'll allow the coolant to drain over into this other side of the radiator a little bit, and then I'll add some more coolant there in the top. Okay, now I got my tank back on. I've got my pipe back on. Just gonna torque these bolts down and then put my springs on this pipe, and we will be in business. There's two. Okay, we are completely back together, and even with filming, that only took me 43 minutes. And so you could do that a lot faster if you weren't filming. So let's check this thing, make sure it runs. Well, we're two smoking now. So as you can see, this is an easy install, guys. So as you can see, I completely smoked up my shop. This thing is ready to run. Can't run it tonight because it's pitch black outside. But the RK Tek heads that I've used in the past have been pretty sweet, especially the one I have in my 250XC. So I'm hoping that it's just what the doctor ordered for this 150 to give it a little bit more zip and give it a little bit more low end. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So I just wanted to say thank you for watching. If you got questions, leave them down in the comments. The best way to contact me though is over at dirtbikechannel.com. I've got a contact me page over there, and you can, if you send me an email, I will definitely respond to you. It's hard for me to respond to all the Facebook stuff and all the YouTube stuff, but if you send me an email directly through my website, then I will get back to you. So excited to go test this thing out and see how she runs. So anyway, thanks for watching.